Hey guys, it's Jacqueline over at Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family, and today we're talking about how you can conduct your child's driver's training through the state of California if you are a private homeschooler. If you like these kinds of California specific videos, do me a favor, thumbs up, subscribe, comment. Join us over on Facebook group at the Homeschool Hangout by Nerd Family Facebook group. Find me in Nerd Family on Twitter, the Nerd Family blog on Instagram, and yeah, I think that's all the things. Self-promotion over, let's get back into the video. So, first up, I am not a lawyer. I do not pretend to be a lawyer. I don't even play one on television. This is purely what has worked for us and is not constituting legal advice. Once again, not a lawyer, not giving legal advice, none of that stuff. Okay, we're clear? Okay. So we all know in public schools now, they don't really offer driver's training, and many don't even offer driver's education. As a homeschooler, I was very intimidated by the cost of paying for driver's training. So I started hearing rumblings of people who've been around doing this a little longer than me going, well, you don't have to pay for driver's training. And I'm like, what? How do I save? I think it's like $400 or $350 if you get it on a Groupon. How do I save that kind of money for 6 hours of education? Just to be clear, driver's training is only technically like 6 hours of behind the wheel instruction. So I started doing some research. Somebody pointed me in a direction. This is the process that worked for me. I will be very honest. While the education codes, I've read all the education codes having to do with homeschooling in California, I didn't really find anything in the DMV stuff or in the education code regarding this. I have found the forms. I have done this from the beginning all the way through licensed driver. I have my 17-year-old. Matter of fact, she is running errands for me right now. You may hear her come in while we're doing this. So it's worked, but I haven't found a whole lot of law. So all that said, you know how the DMV site is if you're in California. There isn't a lot of law explainer. There's just, here's a form, here's a form, here's a form. So we're going to go through the forms. First off, I do want to say you can do both driver's ed and driver's training. You don't have to just do driver's training. With my older child, and I will be doing this for the 2 younger ones, my time is worth a little bit of money. Not a lot of money, a little bit of money. You can pick up a driver's education course on Groupon for $10. That's what we did. They sit in front of the computer, they go through it, they get a certificate in the mail. Now, if you want to save $10, I understand that, but then you have to teach it. So what I'm going to walk through is for both driver's ed and driver's training. I only did the driver's training part, so I can't attest to how the driver's ed works. So let's get into it. The big part of this experience is going to be guided by the DMV form DL396. There will be links in the bottom or over on nerdfamily.com. And basically, this goes to the occupational licensing section of the DMV. And I'm going to go through the form really quickly with you. Basically, the first thing you do is you check off, are you a public secondary school, private secondary school, or homeschool or private school satellite program? I am going through it for the homeschooled only and private school satellite program, which just means you file one PSA for a whole bunch of you instead of just for your family. You're going to go into section 1, which is the requester information. You basically put down the name of the school, a CDS code if issued. Just so you know, a CDS code is something that you can get on your private school affidavit. They only issue it to homeschools of 6 or more people. So like for us at my biggest, we only had 4 kids. I don't have a CDS code. Is school ID number if issued? I don't have a school ID number. You're going to put your name of your requester, so your owner, your office, your administrator, your principal. I put me, I don't put the husband, just because if anyone needs to follow up, they're going to find me. Your phone number, your date of request, like if you're going, I need to do this now, I don't need this until September, whatever that is, I believe you can put that in there. Your mailing address and your delivery address in case it's different. Do not use P.O. boxes for delivery addresses, it says on here. And I lied. Date of request is just the date you're requesting it. These forms and certificates can be received between X date and X date from X time to X time. In reality, we just got them in the mail and we wanted them kind of as soon as possible. So we just put the current date through, a month or something. You do need to give them a few weeks though to get it back to you. Section 2, completed by all requesters. Check all boxes that apply. So a lot of these aren't going to apply to you. This is a public or charter secondary school. No, we don't even need to finish reading that one, not you. The school offers driver's education and or behind the wheel training as part of a full-time curriculum to full-time students enrolled in this school pursuant to education 5185051 Yes. The driver's education behind the wheel training courses offered by same school must be maintained pursuant to education code. Yes, I am offering it to full-time students enrolled in my school. So yes, on both of the last two. Then to be completed by all private schools, homeschools, and private school satellite programs. Check all boxes that apply. This is a private secondary school. I'm not a private secondary school. A private secondary school would be like a private high school. That, like, if you're in Fresno Christian would be what I would consider a private secondary school. Enclosed is a current copy of the PSA or private school affidavit filed with the superintendent of public instruction. So you include a copy of your PSA in here. This is a private secondary school that teaches classroom driver's ed. Well, you're not a private secondary school. This is a homeschool or private school satellite program that teaches classroom driver's ed. Now for me, we weren't going to do that, so I didn't check it. This is a homeschool or private school satellite program that teaches behind the wheel training. That's where we were. And we checked that one. Now, if you want to do driver's ed, check driver's ed also. It's not a big deal. And then it goes through and says, this is a private secondary school or PSSP that teaches non-classroom driver's ed, meaning like you're not necessarily teaching it. You can use internet-based correspondence or other distance learning. I don't consider that at all. I hired it out. We didn't do that. And it goes through basically if you are teaching driver's ed classroom style you have to agree to like teach their curriculum. They've got a checklist. Section 4, secondary school age students. Provide the number of secondary school age students to be enrolled in driver's education / behind the wheel training for the current year, September through August. So they're very specific. If you consider your school year to be something else and you're not starting it this school year, that's next year, but it does include your summer session. Note the total number of students must not exceed the total number of secondary school age students reported on the school's PSA. So basically you put in, and it's a little chart, enrollment, and it has driver's education only, classroom, driver's education only, non-classroom, behind the wheel only, total number of students. So for us, we only have one student at a time who's doing driver's training. So we just put 1 and 1. And then down at the bottom, it says driver's education behind the wheel instructors. So you need to list everybody who might or will be teaching. And so for us, we just did both my husband and myself. We signed it. We're the parent or guardian. And it does say check 1, parent or guardian, teaching credential, criminal record summary. I just am a parent or guardian. You're good. And then you sign it. In that envelope, you will have that form, your PSA. You will also have the DL396A. I know it sounds fancy. In reality, it's a driver's education supply request form. That's it. You can include a student driver exam, which I believe is just for the classroom education part. You can ask for a driver's license or identification card application. You can, and it asks, how many do you have on hand on all of these, and how many more do you need? We have nothing on hand, so we will request whatever we need, and I ask for one of what I need. So the driver's license or identification card application, the only thing on that is, like for us, when we did it the first time, we didn't ask for that. Why? She already had her permit, and that already used the driver's license or identification card application, and that they can get at the DMV. You also request your certificates here. So a certificate of completion of driver's ed, public secondary school, non-classroom driver's ed, public secondary school, certificate of completion, and they've got a whole section of private secondary schools. So this is the same form private schools use as well as homeschools. Then you get down to homeschool/private school satellite programs. So all your certificates, the classroom driver's ed, the non-classroom driver's ed, a certificate of completion behind the wheel training for all your options. Now, where these are important, if you've not had a student get their license, or like for me, I was over 18 when I got mine, you have to take in a certificate of your driver's ed before they'll let you take your permit test. Then you have to take in your certificate of driver's training and give it to them for them to allow you to take your behind the wheel test. So this is where you order your certificates. And you can also get your different driver's handbooks here. California Driver Handbook, you can get it in Spanish, you can get a teen training guide, a parent teen training guide, and you can get a motorcycle handbook. And that is basically it. You sign it saying, you're committing perjury if you're lying, don't lie. General rule of life, don't lie. And then we get to Form DL 803 that you can find online. And like I said, links will be included. This is your log. Now, I've heard a little bit of different reporting. Some people say you send it in. We did not. We just keep it. That way, if they ever come back and say, who got this certificate? Who got this certificate number? You have it. And the only thing that goes on here basically is your school name, your ID numbers if you have them, and then your DE/DT completion certificate control number. On the certificates, there's a control number at the top. I am not going to show you ours because it has been filled out with all my daughter's private information. And you just please list completion certificates in sequential order. So you put down the number, you put down the student's full name and address, use 2 lines if necessary. Yes, it says that. The student's birth date, the date issued, and then their license number. And then at the bottom, you sign it. And it says that if you have like your certificates, you get certificates and they're mutilated or they're voided, you mail them back into the DMV. Also, if something gets lost, a certificate gets lost, you notify them. That way, there's rogue driver's training certificates out there. They know. And then you sign it. I literally just put it in my drawer. And it has my daughter's record on it. And then when Indra gets his license, he will be added to it. That's it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We filled out these forms. We popped them in the mail. We got back an envelope, and it had our driver's training completion certificate. It had a little, we ordered a parent teen handbook because it kind of talked about like what you needed to go through for driver's training a little bit, not even much of that. And you keep a log. We kept ours on our phone on a Google Keep that we shared of their training hours. They technically have to have their driver's training behind the wheel before they can start working on their hours that they need. I believe off the top of my head, they need 50 hours total? I'm trying to remember. And 10 of them are at night. And they have to hold their permit for 6 months. But you get all that when you get your permit. That's it. And then seriously, we filled out the completion form for driver's training. She walked in, handed it to the DMV. They didn't even blink. They handled it like everything else. That is it. It is really that easy. And 6 hours time for $400, I view as a great time exchange. Not everybody does. Now, I will say my husband did most of the behind the wheel training. My husband also taught me how to drive, and he is a much more patient person than I am. So that's how that worked in our house. Many parents I've talked to said the legality isn't the issue, the paying the money isn't the issue. They just don't want to teach their kid how to drive. They would rather drive in the car with them once they know what they're doing. That is a personal choice. I totally get that. But for us, it wasn't a big deal to teach her how to drive. And hopefully my 15-year-old's been watching everything she went through, so he's even easier. But we'll see. What questions did I leave unanswered? I may or may not have answers for them. But do me a favor, leave a comment down below, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and hit the little bell. It'll tell you when I do posts like this. Not all my posts are California specific. If there is something else you would like to know, let me know. I also will be posting this along with a walkthrough write-up and links to all of the forums over at nerdfamily.com. Follow me on all the things. Let me know what you're going through today. And remember, you are enough. You can do this. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.